September 2025. Now I'm doing another take on this video because I want this video to be short as possible. Not that the other ones were overly long, but whatever. This unplanned, unscheduled video is simply an update on my health, so it's a personal video. And anyone who's been following me for years know that I have a historic issue with my heart, going back to around 2010. At the time, surgeons wanted to do an operation on my heart then, and life just kind of got in the way. I was dealing with other matters that came up and never had it done. And then I had some events, I guess you could say related to that, in Alberta and so forth. So about a month ago I was able to meet with a doctor because I've been waiting for a very long time. And during this brief meet and greet, they found that my blood pressure was high. They checked it 4 times during this little brief meeting, and I was told that I have to have my blood pressure checked twice a day just to, I don't know, get a baseline or something, whatever. And it's been probably averaging around 186 over 135, which apparently is pretty high. And so for the past several days, I've noticed a change in sensations, and yesterday these sensations were, as a descriptive, more intense. Talking with a few friends about this, and then ended up calling one of these nurse telephone things. They want to call an ambulance after, going through a bunch of questions and stuff. So anyway, long story short, went to the hospital, and when I was in triage, I'm telling the nurse there, like, probably going to be out of here in like 10 minutes, probably nothing. But the more they were doing their preliminary tests and everything else, the more it's like, we're going to get you in right away, and blood work and IV and all this other stuff, and all these cables hooked up to me. And at one point, when I was talking, the nurse and I were talking when I was on the bed, my blood pressure had spiked way over 200 for a few seconds. And I remember the nurse was panicking and everything else. And I said, well, what's this going on? Because there was like some sort of yellow alert thing going off and whatever. So they just kind of looked at me in a panic. Said, I'll be right back. And everyone's rushing in and whatever. It didn't happen again, but it was still high and whatever. So going through all these images and everything else during my stay, and blood work and all this other stuff. So finally, the doctor said that I need heart surgery. So now I have 2 different things going on with my heart, and I'm still kind of trying to process all this. I'm perhaps in some shock. And the doctor, and they were, after that spike and everything else, they were pumping all these medications into me. I was feeling fine, I guess, but the machines were saying something different. And eventually I got, in the middle of the night, the doctor's telling me all this and ended up releasing me. If there's any sign of anything else, come back right away type of thing, right? Yeah, so I'm still trying to process. I need another surgery. Like, it's amazing. So what appears to have happened was the damage that I dealt with from 2022 had left scar tissuing, severe scar tissuing throughout my insides. I know it went up into, from what I'm told, into the lung area, but it seemed to go a little bit further. So now that has to be dealt with. And I'm just going to be waiting. Now, the doctor was asking, usual questions about stress. If you have any stress, try to cut down on that stress. A little easier said than done, as how I've been living. And obviously diet was asked, and I said, well, without getting into all the details with them, I eat when I can. I can go a long time without eating expired food. Shame to say, but it is what it is. And just basically that kind of looked at me, like realizing, okay, there's stuff going on in my life, but without getting into all the details together. So I'm just waiting to hear from a heart surgeon in the next day or two and talk to them, and I guess move forward with all this, discuss the pros and cons and procedures and everything else. I'm really not looking forward to this, but it seems like this chapter of my life, there's health issues have caught up, and this is compounded on top of the other health issues that I've been dealing with since, say, 2022, and the complications and everything else, and historical stuff, and the injuries from Alberta that I sustained on May 4th, 2013. I live with those pains 24/7, and friends, you're just talking about this recent event. Say, well, you haven't really talked even to them about any of this, like pain, chest pains and stuff. And I said, well, no, I just overcome, adapt, and move forward. And I'm not one to be running to hospitals and doctors all willy-nilly. And I don't talk about this kind of stuff hardly ever in my content here. Don't want to bore anyone, burden anyone with all this stuff. But anyway, I'm just doing an update, letting everyone know, for example, just in case type of thing. And I'll probably do some quick updates about this in real time, like this video, for whatever it's worth to others. I want to close off by thanking my friends, people who kept in touch with me throughout this recent event in the hospital and this morning, and some, I guess, even throughout the night. Well, I was released in the middle of the night. Just want to thank everyone for their support, kind words, and everything else. And yeah, so that's about it. Don't know what more I can say at this time. Just want to say thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.